So now we're going to talk a little bit about final thoughts in regards to vehicle modification. You know, Jake and I both have been to SEMA quite a bit, and Jake, you're like me. You've seen those trucks that they raise, you've seen the cars they lower, the aftermarket spoiler packages, the snow plows. Jake, what do you think we need to do when one of these vehicles comes in?
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of modifications. There's an intentional modification and an unintentional modification. So an intentional would be a lift kit, a brush guard, window tint. Those kinds of things are intentional modifications. An unintentional modification would be a repair on a bumper that shouldn't have happened. It should have been replaced, right? So modifications are a big problem as it relates to the safety systems on the vehicle. If we look at the 2021 Titan, we have an example from the owner's manual where it states that modifications of your vehicle. This vehicle should not be modified. Modifications could affect its performance, safety, emissions, durability, and even violate governmental regulations. In addition, damage or performance problems resulting from modifications may not be covered under the Nissan warranty. So that's one of the reasons I bought the Nissan, was the warranty was awesome. So it's something that we really need to consider. To put that into a collision perspective, if you think about a candy paint job that you're expected to blend a fender and make it match a hood, right? A candy paint job can be very difficult to duplicate in the aftermarket world. It's the same thing with an aftermarket modification. If we've got a vehicle with a lift kit and we're taking wheel height measurements and things like that, it becomes very difficult to calibrate. So be really sensitive about modifications.
So, you know, Jake, that's why I believe it's really important that when a customer brings a vehicle that's been modified, right? And let's talk about intentionally, like they raised the vehicle or put an aftermarket spoiler kit on it, or it has a brush guard on the front, that we need to review the vehicle owner's manual with the customer to explain to them how this might be impacting the safety of their vehicle. Now, obviously, when a customer brings a vehicle in and they have a brush guard or snowplow on it, they're going to be wondering why or how does that impact my ADAS components or safety sense. Jake, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you think about the around view monitor, the section we just covered where the position of those cameras, right? And now you have a brush guard that is potentially in the field of view of those cameras. And you're trying to see a pattern on the floor that you just made and measured out, and you're trying to do the bird's eye fine tuning. That brush guard can actually upset that fine tuning. So that's something you may have to take it off and cover it with the owner that, hey, I've got to calibrate or fine tune the bird's eye without the brush guard on, and there may be an additional expense to do that.
That's correct. Or maybe they have aftermarket wheels on it, and we need to have them bring the factory wheels in because that's also important.
Right.
You know, I have to be honest with you. I'm sure there's some jobs that have come to your collision repair facility that you probably have refused to work on, like, for example, restoration, or as Jake said, you know, something that's got a custom paint job on it. There may be times, ladies and gentlemen, when a vehicle's been modified that we're not able to perform a safe and proper repair, and we need to take that into consideration. So now we're going to get to the question that everybody wants to know, because every time, you know, we've done this class a couple times now, and everybody wants to know, if I want to bring my calibrations in-house, what do I need to know? Well, first of all, in regards to targets, you're going to be provided with a sales flyer from Nissan that will help you to understand where you can purchase those targets from directly from Nissan. Now, Jake, when it comes to floor space, it obviously depends on how many calibrations we want to do. Do we want to do one calibration, one car at a time, or do we want the space to do two? So for the purposes of this question, Jake, what's the square footage I need if I want to do one car, one calibration at a time?
Yeah, if you're going to do one at a time, you know, about 1,800 to 2,000 square feet is ideal.
Okay.
If you were going to bring in multiple and do multiple brands, you obviously would want bigger. Our Aztec calibration centers average about 4,500 square feet, so we can do multiple brands and multiple systems.
Okay, great. Now let's talk about floor coating, because we had to write on the floor a lot, and we're going to have to write on the floor a lot in order to document our measurements. What's the best floor coating?
Yeah, one of those lessons that we learned from doing this is being able to write on the floor. It really shows up good in a photo. And we have a special epoxy that we use that allows dry erase markers, and we'll provide that to everybody in the class.
Okay, now we know it has to be like a big open room, no obstacles. I know you shared with me earlier, can't be like any holes in the floor from, like, you know, floor drains or like, you know, the pots in the floor where people used to old school pull frames. So nothing in the floors, level floors. What about windows? Do I have to have windows, or I can't have windows?
Yeah, the windows are critical. You want to, if you have windows, you want the ability to draw shade so you can eliminate any sunlight. That can create a bad environmental failure. So you do not want to have sunlight shining on the floor that you're trying to calibrate on. You know, if you're repurposing an area that used to be a body shop and had the pulling pots in the floor, a lot of the radar procedures require no metal. So no metal in the area of the calibration. So something to consider if you're turning it to a calibration center.
Okay, and last but not least, lighting.
Lighting, yeah, lighting's a big one. You want to make sure you have some control over the lighting. You don't want any shadows or anything like that. Once again, creates an environmental failure.
So, you know, Jake, I've got my own personal comments I want to close this out with, but before we close out, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I really appreciate everybody taking the class, and for the Aztec customers in the room, certainly appreciate your business, and we look forward to working with you further.
So, hey, thank you so much for attending this class. We hope you got value. If there's anything that we could have done differently or better, please feel free to let your instructor know so they can pass it on to Jake and I. In closing, if there's anything that the team at Nissan, the team at Aztec, or my team at Collision Advice can do to support, assist, or encourage you in any way, please let us know. Thanks, and make the rest of your course a great one.